The sun was going down and the whole city looked golden. The air smelled like yummy food, and people were rushing home to eat after a long day of fasting for Ramadan. A woman named Layla stood outside a small store. She was a mom and she looked very tired. She held a small old bag and felt sad. The shopkeeper had just told her she couldn't buy food on credit anymore. That meant she had no money to buy food today. Layla's heart felt heavy because at home her little daughter, Hannah, was waiting, hungry and hoping for food. Layla wiped a tear from her cheek and tried to be strong. She didn't see the tall, quiet man in a black coat watching her. This man was Keanu Reeves. He had been walking through the streets thinking about life when he saw Layla. Something about her made him stop and watch. He could see that she was struggling and his heart felt sad for her. Layla took a deep breath and walked away slowly. She had no food and no idea what to do. Keanu stood there for a moment, then decided to follow her quietly. He saw her sit on a park bench. A little girl with big, bright eyes ran to her. "Mama, did you get the food?" Hannah asked, her voice full of hope. Layla smiled, but it was a sad smile. She knelt down and brushed Hannah's hair softly. "Not today, Habibi. But don't worry. We'll find a way." Keanu felt his heart ache as he watched. He had seen enough. Without saying a word, he turned and walked back to the store. The shopkeeper was getting ready to close for the night. "I want to pay for the food that the woman was trying to buy earlier," Keanu said. The shopkeeper looked at him with surprise but didn't ask questions. He packed the food and handed Keanu the bags. Keanu took them and walked back to the park. Layla was still sitting on the bench, holding Hannah close. Keanu placed the bags in front of her gently. "These are for you," he said. Layla looked up, her eyes wide. I can't take this," she said, her voice shaking. Keanu shook his head and smiled kindly. "Please, take it for your daughter." Hannah peeked at the food. Her eyes got big. "Mama, is this for us?" she asked, excited. Layla's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Keanu. Why are you doing this?" Keanu gave her a small smile. "Because it's Ramadan. And because everyone deserves kindness." Before Layla could say another word, Keanu turned and walked away, disappearing into the busy streets. Layla watched him go, her heart pounding. Who was this kind stranger? And why did he help her? That night, Layla cooked a simple meal for herself and Hannah. They ate together, feeling warm and happy. But in the morning, Layla's worries came back. She still had no job, no money, and no idea how to take care of Hannah for long. As she walked Hannah to school, her mind raced with thoughts. She needed to find a job. But finding work was hard, especially because she had never been to school. Suddenly, she heard a car stop next to her. She turned and gasped. It was the same man from last night, Keanu Reeves. He was sitting in the driver's seat, smiling gently. "Good morning," he said. "I was hoping to see you again." Layla blinked, not sure what to say. But Hannah knew exactly what to do. "You're the man who gave us food," she said excitedly. Keanu laughed. "That's right. And I was wondering if I could talk to your mom for a moment." Layla hesitated. She didn't know this man, but there was something about him that felt safe. She knelt down to Hannah. "Go ahead to school, Habibi. I'll catch up." Hannah nodded and skipped away, looking back at Keanu with curiosity. Keanu looked at Layla. "I know this might seem strange," he said, "but I couldn't stop thinking about you and Hannah. I want to help. If you'll let me." Layla frowned. "What? You don't even know me." Keanu was quiet for a moment. "I've been alone and struggling before," he said softly. "I know how it feels to have nothing. I just want to help. I don't want anything in return. I just want to make sure you and your daughter are okay." Layla's eyes filled with tears. She quickly wiped them away. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Keanu said. "Just let me help." And he did. Over the next few days, Keanu kept his promise. He found Layla a job at a community center. It was a small job, but it paid enough and she could work while Hannah was at school. He also helped Hannah join an after-school program, so Layla had more time to focus on herself. Life started to get better. But Layla couldn't stop wondering, why was Keanu helping her so much? Why did he care? And why did he look so familiar, like she had seen him before? One evening, they sat in a small cafe drinking tea. Layla took a deep breath. She had to ask, "Keanu," she said slowly, "why are you really doing all this? You have changed my life and I'm grateful. But I feel like there's something you're not telling me." Keanu looked at her. He was quiet for a long time. Then he sighed. "You're right," he said. "There is something I haven't told you. But it's not my story to tell. Not yet." Layla's heart beat faster. What do you mean? Keanu stood up. I have to go, he said, but I'll see you soon. He walked away, leaving Layla confused and curious. What was he hiding? Days turned into weeks. Layla's life kept getting better. Her job gave her purpose. Hannah was happy at school. Things were finally looking up. But Keanu's words stayed in her mind. One day, while cleaning at the community center, she saw a newspaper on the table. Her heart stopped. Right there on the front page was a picture of Keanu Reeves. Her eyes widened. She read the words under the picture. Hollywood star Keanu Reeves gives millions to help people in need. Layla gasped. She looked at the picture again. It was him. The man who had helped her. She had no idea he was famous. Her hands trembled as she put the newspaper down. Now she understood why he seemed so familiar. Why do people whisper when they see him? Why he had been so kind. Keanu Reeves wasn't just a kind man. He was a superstar. And he had chosen to help her. Tears filled Layla's eyes. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you," because sometimes kindness comes from the most unexpected places. One afternoon, Layla was putting things away at the community center. She was organizing supplies when she heard two people talking. She stopped and listened. Two volunteers were near the door, speaking in low voices, but she could still hear them. "Did you hear about the guy who has been helping around here?" one of them asked. "You mean Keanu Reeves?" "Yeah, I heard he's been doing a lot of charity work lately. But guess what? He's not just some random guy. He has a special connection to this place." Layla's heart started beating fast. She moved a little closer so she could hear more. "What kind of connection?" the other volunteer asked. "I don't know all the details, but I heard he used to come here a long time ago. Something about his sister or maybe his mom. That's why he's been so involved lately." Layla's mind was racing. Keanu had a connection to this place? Was that the reason he had helped her? She needed answers. And she needed them now. That evening, Layla waited outside the community center for Keanu. When he finally came out, she didn't wait. "Keanu," she said. Her voice was strong, but she felt nervous. "I need to know the truth. Why are you really helping me? What is your connection to this place?" Keanu looked at her. His face was calm, but she couldn't tell what he was thinking. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he took a deep breath. "I was hoping I wouldn't have to tell you this," he said. "But I guess you deserve to know." He pointed to a bench nearby. Layla sat down, her heart pounding. Keanu sat beside her, his hands clasped tightly together. "Years ago," he started, "my sister used to come to this community center. She was struggling. She had a young daughter just like you, and she was doing everything she could to take care of her. But life was really hard and she didn't have much help." Layla felt a lump in her throat. "What happened to her?" she asked in a whisper. Keanu's eyes filled with sadness. "She passed away," he said softly. "She didn't get the help she needed, and it broke her. When I saw you that day struggling just like she did, I couldn't walk away. I couldn't let someone else go through what she did." Layla felt tears roll down her cheeks. She had never expected this. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. Keanu nodded, his own eyes watery. "I am too. But helping you has helped me. It feels like I'm making up for what I couldn't do for her." For a long time they sat in silence. The air felt heavy but also lighter at the same time. Then Layla finally spoke. "Thank you," she said, wiping her tears. "Not just for helping me but for trusting me with this. I won't let you down." Keanu gave her a small, sad smile. "I know you won't." The sun was setting behind them, casting a warm glow over the community center. Layla felt something new inside her, a strong determination. She wasn't just fighting for herself and her little daughter Hannah anymore. She was fighting for Keanu's sister too. And she wasn't going to let either of them down. Layla's life started to change. With Keanu's support, she joined evening classes at the community center. She wanted to learn new things and build a better future for herself and Hannah. The more time she spent there, the more she saw how much Keanu cared about the center. He wasn't just a person who donated money, he was always there, helping in quiet ways. He fixed things, cleaned up, and made sure everything was running smoothly. One evening after her class, Layla saw Keanu in the small library inside the center. He was sorting old books, his face focused. She hesitated for a moment, then walked over to him. "Keanu," she said softly. He looked up. "Yes. Can I ask you something?" Keanu nodded. "Of course." Layla took a deep breath. "Your sister. What was her name?" Keanu's face softened. For a moment he looked lost in thought. Then he answered, "Her name was Emily. She was amazing. She was strong, kind, and full of life. But life can be really hard. and sometimes even the strongest people need help. Layla felt a deep sadness for Emily, a woman she had never met but now felt close to. "I wish I could have known her," she said quietly. Keanu smiled faintly. "She would have liked you. You remind me of her in some ways. You're strong and you don't give up. That's why I knew I had to help you." Layla felt her throat tighten. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. "You've done so much for me." Keanu shook his head. "You don't have to thank me. Seeing you and Hannah happy and doing well, that's all the thanks I need." As the days passed, Layla noticed something else. Keanu had sacrificed so much to help others. He never talked about himself much, and when he did, it was always about helping someone else. He gave his time, his money, and his heart to the community. One day, Layla found out that Keanu had secretly paid for a new set of books for the center's library. Another time, she saw him fixing a broken chair so no one would get hurt. He never made a big deal about anything, he just did what needed to be done. Layla realized that Keanu wasn't just helping her. He was helping so many people just like his sister would have wanted. And she knew one thing for sure, she wanted to be like him. She wanted to give back too. As time went on, Layla became more involved in the community center. She helped with events, tutored younger kids, and even started leading a small class for mothers like her. She wanted to be there for others just like Keanu had been there for her. One day, as she and Keanu were painting a wall at the center, she turned to him and said, "You know, you've changed my life." Keanu smiled. "No, Layla. You changed your own life. I just gave you a little push." Layla grinned. "Well, thank you for the push." Keanu chuckled. "You're welcome. Now keep painting before we both get in trouble for making a mess." Layla laughed. She felt happy, truly happy. She had found a place where she belonged. She had found a friend in Keanu. And most importantly, she had found a way to make a difference, not just for herself but for others too. And so, Layla's journey continued. With Keanu's support and her own strength, she kept moving forward. She knew there would still be challenges, but she also knew she wasn't alone. And that made all the difference. One night, after a long day, Layla saw Keanu sitting alone in the community center's courtyard. He was looking up at the stars. He looked like he was carrying something heavy in his heart, something he never talked about. Layla walked over carefully, not wanting to disturb him. "Can I sit with you?" she asked. Keanu looked up and gave a small nod. "Of course." They sat quietly for a while. The cool night air wrapped around them. After some time, Layla spoke again. "Keanu, can I ask you something?" Keanu turned to her, his face kind and open. "Anything." "Why do you do this?" she asked. "Why do you help so many people, even people you don't know?" Keanu was quiet for a long time, thinking about his answer. Finally, he said, "I have been through a lot in my life. I have lost people I loved and I have made mistakes. But one thing I know for sure is that kindness can change everything. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. If you can help someone even in a small way, it can make a big difference." Layla felt tears in her eyes. She looked at Keanu with deep respect. "You have changed my life," she said. "And I know you have helped so many others too. But don't you ever feel tired? Don't you ever feel like you are giving too much?" Keanu gave a small smile. "Sometimes," he admitted. "But then I see someone like you, someone working so hard to build a better life for themselves and their family, and it reminds me why I do this. It's not about me. It's about making sure no one has to go through hard times alone." Layla reached out and gently touched his arm. "You're not alone either, Keanu," she said softly. "You don't have to carry everything by yourself." For the first time, Keanu looked truly vulnerable. He didn't say anything, but his eyes were full of gratitude. They sat together under the stars, and Layla realized something important. Keanu wasn't just helping her, she was helping him too. In their own way, they were healing each other. Weeks turned into months. Layla kept working hard. She finished her courses at the community center and got a full-time job at a local nonprofit. Her daughter, Layla, was doing great in school. She often talked about Keanu as if he were part of the family. "When is Uncle Keanu coming over?" she would ask, her eyes bright with excitement. One evening, as Layla and Layla were preparing food for iftar, they heard a knock at the door. Layla opened it and saw Keanu standing there with a small gift bag. "I hope I'm not interrupting," he said with a smile. "Of course not," Layla replied, stepping aside to let him in. Layla ran up to him and hugged his legs. "Uncle Keanu, you're just in time for iftar." Keanu chuckled and handed the gift bag to Layla. "This is for you." Layla's eyes lit up as she pulled out a beautifully illustrated children's book. "It's about a little girl who changes the world with kindness," Keanu explained. Layla beamed. Thank you, Uncle Keanu. I will read it every day. They sat down to eat. The room was filled with warmth and happiness. But Layla noticed something different about Keanu. He was quieter than usual. His smiles didn't seem as bright. After dinner, when Layla was busy reading her new book, Layla turned to Keanu. Is everything okay? She asked gently. Keanu hesitated, then nodded. I'm fine. Just thinking. Layla studied him carefully. You know you can talk to me, right? After everything you've done for us, I want to be there for you too. Keanu sighed and ran a hand through his hair. I've been offered a chance to work on a big project overseas, he said finally. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, but I don't know if I should go. Layla's heart sank, but she forced a smile. Keanu, that's amazing. You should go. You've done so much for us, for everyone here. It's time for you to focus on yourself. Keanu looked at her, his face full of worry. But what about you and Layla? What about the community center? I don't want to leave when there's still so much to do. Layla reached out and held his hand. Keanu, you've given us everything we need to stand on our own. You taught me how to be strong, how to fight for what I want. And the community center is in good hands. You have inspired so many people to help. Now it's your turn to follow your dreams. Keanu's eyes filled with emotion. I don't know what to say, he admitted. You don't have to say anything, Layla replied. Just promise me one thing. Anything. Promise me you'll take care of yourself. You've spent so much time helping others, it's time to let someone help you. Keanu nodded. A small smile finally appeared on his face. I promise. The next few days were busy. Keanu spent his time making sure everything at the community center would run smoothly after he left. On his last day, the center threw a small farewell gathering. Many people came to thank him, sharing stories of how he had helped them. As the event was ending, Layla walked up to Keanu. She was holding a small wrapped gift. This is for you, she said, handing it to him. Keanu opened the gift. Inside was a framed photo of him, Layla, and Layla. It was taken during one of their iftar meals. On the frame, the words, "Thank you for being our light," were engraved. Keanu's eyes filled with tears as he looked at the photo. I will treasure this, he said quietly. Layla smiled, her own eyes wet with tears. You will always be a part of our family, Keanu. No matter where you go. That night, as Keanu walked away, he felt many emotions. Sadness because he was leaving, but also hope for the future. He had come into Layla and Layla's lives to help them, but in the end, they had helped him just as much. And as he stepped forward into his new journey, he knew one thing for sure. Kindness always finds its way back. If you enjoyed this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more exciting stories filled with adventure, mystery, and unforgettable moments. Your support means the world. It keeps these stories coming and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.